What happened to you was real, and it is not the end of your story. Welcome. I'm Nita Kruger. This is the Nita Kruger Podcast brought to you by Infinity Within, a space for survivors, cycle breakers, and soul led healers who love a touch of science. We want to keep it real. I am an accredited coach and your trauma recovery guide. Together, we will work to find and unlock your voice and transform your pain into power. Welcome. Today's episode, No More Pretending. This is your start here button. This is the healing conversation that you have been avoiding, right? We all have things we're avoiding. And today we're going to talk about this. It's just a peel back the layers, a really clear look at are there things you've been avoiding and why have you been avoiding those? And we're going to ask ourselves, can we give ourselves space to stop pretending and to start being more honest? Before we get into the top 5 foundations of authentic healing, these are the things that I really have utilized in my journey as the underpinning success for every single thing that I have done. Before we get into those, I want to just give you guys a brief reconnection, tell you who I am. My name is Nita Kruger, and I started Infinity Within at the very end of 2021 when I had lost everything. I thought I had already lost everything, right? I was into a multi-year, very, very unpleasant and unhealthy and expensive divorce that didn't end for another 2 years. And when you think you've lost everything, that is just such a false front because you can always go lower. You can always lose more. You can always look at life from that glass is shattered at the bottom, and no matter how much I dump into it, it is running out as fast as I can pour into it. And I had no idea in 2021 when I started Infinity Within how much more was going to come at me. And if you've been following my podcast or my work for a while, you'll know that I have been largely absent from life. And let's be honest, like healing isn't sweet and easy and cute and fun. It isn't where you put on your fuzzy footed pajamas, get a gallon of Ben and Jerry's out of the freezer box and sit down and have yourself a good cry. That isn't healing. That's, a tiny perspective of a healing moment. But in reality, it's coming to the truth over and over and over again that there's work to do. And then it is stepping up to that work. And that's where I've been for the last 3 years. I entered 2022 with a massive life altering injury that led to off the hook PTSD, which was upgraded to CPTSD, which was then additionally added to medical PTSD. So, if you need a PTSD expert, you are in the right place. Uh, you know, whatever platform you're on, just hit a follow, because if it has to do with regulating your nervous system, calming PTSD, and healing from traumas that most people don't want to talk about and get real about, I have walked those paths. And that's where the last 3 years has taken me up and down, up and down, up and down, a slippery, slidey slope of progressively healing and falling again into many pitfalls. And as we go through our podcast journey and my products roll out and my posts continue to be where I'm more visible in them, I'll talk about more and more of those things that have happened. But just remember this: wherever you're at, there is a blessing. There is something beautiful there. Even if it is just the fact that you say, I'm not okay with what's happening right now. I feel really uncomfortable. And for a long time, There were so many things that I couldn't identify that I wasn't okay with and I wasn't comfortable with. So if who I am sounds like somebody that you would like to hear a little bit more about how I stabilized a just on fire nervous system and brain, how I pulled myself out of codependency, how I pulled myself out of really unhealthy and dangerous places, out of psychologically demanding and painful relationships. I invite you to stay. I invite you to stay and see what we can bring to your life that improves your quality of life. And so that's enough about me. Let's go ahead and walk us into some truth and facts about the healing conversation that you've been avoiding. If you've been circling your pain, half showing up for your healing or hoping that time alone would fix the it, whatever the it might be, this conversation we're going to have is one you're not going to want to miss. You cannot avoid reality if you want to actually change the life you're living. And this is where we start. Let's talk about this. Is going to hurt a little bit. I know for years I stayed in a space where I just kind of looked at healing from the outside. I was not ready to confront anything about my life, any of the toxic things that were happening. And it's okay if you're in that spot. This is not calling you out or shaming you in any way. But once you are past that, and you are ready to start moving toxic people, moving toxic relationships out of your life, you've got to hear these truth bombs. The oversimplified Instagram or Insta therapy or vague affirmations, they are not going to get you to move forward. This pop psychology and quotes that skip the actual real work, they are just keeping you hyped up in this fake it till you make it or positive thinking. It is kind of creating a false sense of safety without the honesty in action. And the truth is, you cannot heal in the environment or mindset or normalization of the things that broke you. And we're not going to know even what some of those things are until we start having deeper conversations with ourselves and listening to people that make us uncomfortable. For me, that is my therapist. He introduces ideas. I've had 3 therapists. They've all introduced ideas that challenged reality and made me very uncomfortable. It requires honesty, discomfort, action, and vision. And that is what we are going to get into today. How can you have those things? And you will not change the situations about your life that you really don't like right now. I'm sure you can think of one thing. One thing. You cannot change that one thing by pretending you're fine or pretending it will take care of itself, because that is not going to get the action that you want. It's just not going to help. Let's weave a little science in here. Trauma wires the brain for survival. And according to Dr. Bruce Perry of Perry and Salvas, oh my gosh, we're not even going to try that. But in a study done in 2006 by Dr. Bruce Perry and his business partner, or his partner in research, the brain will always choose familiar over safe until we rewire those loops consciously. That starts by stopping the performative healing and getting radically real. For anybody who's working on breaking that cycle of PTSD or CPTSD or medical PTSD or anxiety, overthinking, hypervigilance, any of those symptoms of trauma, this sentence, this work by Dr. Bruce Perry in 2006 is incredibly relevant to what you are trying to do. Scientifically, we have the ability to rewire those loops if we become conscious about how we're approaching it. Approaching it. I think that's a close enough pronunciation. So let's have that be our segue into the 5 foundations for authentic healing. And I can tell you these are the gut level, get your intuition fired up truths that literally have been game changing for me. And the first one is massive, and it sounds so simple, but it is incredibly hard if we've been conditioned to lie to ourselves. Tell yourself the whole truth. We have to get honest about what is hurting, what's happening, what you're hiding, and what is and is not working. Where are you in your life journey? What are you avoiding? What are you not speaking? Maybe it's boundaries. Maybe it's, you are in a job you hate and you want to be in a job you love, but you're unwilling to tell yourself the truth that you hate this job enough to go start doing something else. You've got to start getting really, really honest about, it could be the most basic thing. It doesn't have to be something really massive like PTSD and nervous system healing. It literally can be the smallest thing that you are not having a conversation that you need to have with yourself so that you can begin to have a better life. The stories you're still telling to protect someone else's comfort. That's massive. It matters because you cannot heal what you will not admit. And truth telling is the first nervous system reset. So why is that? Let's look at the science of that. Naming your truth activates the prefrontal, bear with me, prefrontal cortex and helps integrate trauma stored in the amygdala. Denial keeps trauma alive. Honesty brings it into conscious processing. And this is Fisher in 2017. I'll put all of these references in the podcast caption. So if there's a reference that you are interested in looking up and researching more, please just go to the podcast caption. They will all be right there for your convenience, okay? Because they are really important. It's not that we're just telling ourselves this. Science evidences that these are true. Number 2, name the loop you're in. Identification is key. Now, I don't want you to get all confused with labels, right? Identifying something gives us a starting point to begin healing and getting real and having a better conversation with ourselves. So you've got to name what's happening. Are you in a trauma bonding situation? I've been there. Are you so codependent, Nita, that you cannot see this person's toxic red flags in the way that they're not showing up while you over show up and you forgive everything? Are you stuck in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn? Are you shrinking yourself to be loved? Are you keeping the peace by not saying the things that need to be said? So you've got to ask yourself, what is the pattern I keep waking up in? Even if I'm not fully aware of it, like how to name it, I can type in the symptoms into Google search or ChatGPT and I can come up with some guides, or I can talk to my therapist about it. Holy heck, your therapist, if you don't have a therapist, just go get on Psychology Today. Start kind of Google searching for Psychology Today, Google searching for your best therapist for your area and your needs, because you have got to start learning how to name the loop that you're in. Otherwise, you're going to keep waking up inside of it. And that is incredibly painful. It's awful when we unconsciously are choosing to live in the same pain pattern. The loop that you're in is the teacher, but it can only teach you what's happening and offer you an opportunity to exit if you are courageous enough to name it. So, why is this? Repetitive trauma patterns are stored as neural loops. Naming these increases neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and rewire its own circuitry. Perry, 2006. So, there's your science fact. Name that loop. That brings us to number 3. Make one brave, disruptive move. So we're going to get a little uncomfortable, and this is not about blowing up your life. It is about choosing one thing that feels new and true. Call it a line in the sand. It is a shift in the algorithm of your current life. Maybe you are going to begin telling the truth out loud about one thing. Maybe you're just going to block a person who's really fucking rude, who's been hurting you and is cruel and mean. You don't have to have them in your life. You can actually block that person and it's okay. You can leave a space. You leave a relationship, a friendship. You can get a new job, move from a job that's toxic. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It just needs to be something different and uncomfortable. You can actually start by just saying no. You can say no to something that you really don't want to do. The first time I started saying no, I thought I was going to pass out. Sounds so silly, right? But it's not. It's real and it's honest. And if that's where you need to start to respect yourself, remember the people who are authentic and who are capable of handling your no, those are the people you want around you. The people who are incapable of handling your boundaries are the people you want to exit your life. So why, looking at number 3, make one brave disruptive move. Why does this work? What is the science behind this? If we look at Van der Kolk, 2014 study, here's a fact that was found. Small behavioral shifts, especially when done with presence, can interrupt the trauma response and allow rewiring of survival-based neural circuits. You want to create a repetitive, rewiring, healthy, good, safe relationships. And this disruptive move is going to help you do just that. Let's move on to number 4. And this one, I'm not kidding you, it blew my mind. When I had been in therapy, gosh, I don't know, I'd gone through 2 therapists. The first conversation with my 3rd therapist, and I don't want to say I've gone through, you get to a point where you need to move on. You can only move with a therapist as far as the healing work that they have done, as far as they have been self-accountable. And it's okay when you outgrow a space. That's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's a celebration for the therapist. They've done as much as they could possibly do for you, and it's a celebration for you. And when I had to, because I had a catastrophic accident in the early 2022, I had to go back into therapy. I had just exited a month before, and I was excited about taking a little break. And that accident, a life-altering concussion, nothing like a brain injury to send you spiraling into all the things you haven't healed. And that did it. I ended up back with my therapist that I have now, and he's the most grounded, centered, and profoundly safe and what's the best way to say? Professionally knowledgeable individual who has been tasked by choice or by just taking the first appointment with reparenting me. And I think he's doing a pretty good job. I think because I have met so many milestones, he would agree that he's done a pretty good job. Anyway, so number four, he brought to my attention in our very first meeting over a video call, and I filled out his entry questionnaire, like 5 pages, to tell him my history, and he read that, and we met on our video chat, and I was just having a complete PTSD, CPTSD meltdown. My nervous system was completely dysregulated and I was a mess. And here's what he said, and this is number four. Number four is create your own safe place. This has to be a place that is daily. Daily, you need to have a space that is just yours, it is safe, and you can retreat to it daily as needed. Okay, so this isn't, like the, I don't know, coffee shop at the local supermarket. That might be good for, if you need a quick break while you're out. This is a space where you can cry, you can get uncomfortable with yourself. You can create spaces for grounding, meditation, mindfulness, stillness, journaling, breath work, music. You can have a weighted blanket. Your nervous system craves and needs repetition. Your nervous system isn't looking for a full-on resolution. It needs you to show up for yourself. It needs a space that is safe. It has boundaries. It feels comfortable. It feels like everything here is working with me and for me. And that's the first thing my therapist said to me was, the first thing we need to do is get you safe. I have read over your 5 pages of information, and are you picking up what I'm picking up? And I have no idea what he's picking up. And I said, well, I really just don't have a clue what you're seeing. And he said, well, every single entry is just saying you're not safe. You are not safe in your life, and you've never been safe in your life. So you have got to create your own safe space. And it's got to be daily practices and daily access. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the daily practices of a safe space. Journaling. For years, I journaled every single day. I cannot tell you how much emotion moves through you, opens the door to grief and processing, and so many uglinesses that you have bottled up inside of you. Journaling is a flowing energy source to get those things out of you and to get you processing them in a different way. So this is also like my safe space is my bedroom. And so my daily practice includes how I wake up in the morning and how I have a ritual for bedtime. Not a trauma ritual, but an actual healthy ritual that prioritizes sleep and rest and good sleep hygiene. So what is the science behind number four? According to a 2011 study, daily practices that activate the parasympathetic nervous system, like breath, journaling, and stillness, so think mindfulness, meditation, will reduce cortisol and retain the vagus nerve to signal, I am safe. Okay? It's okay to say to yourself, I am safe now. I have done that. I have literally, as part of a grounding exercise, which for some reason or another, I still ground every single day. And I have been doing therapy and healing work since 2019. Actually started before that. If I'm honest with myself, you might have just heard my dogs kick off. We had a delivery driver. But Luckily, I have enough practices from my years of being kind of with my nervous system in overdrive and my avoiding reality in overdrive, that did not make me scream in your ear when the dogs started barking like that. Anyway, it's incredibly important to create that safe space and to have an honest conversation with yourself about that. Let's move on to number 5. So, looking at number 5, and this is going to round us out, is claim a future that feels impossible right now. So, before the dogs and the Amazon delivery, I was talking about the past and how long I've been looking at something is wrong, right? My intuition was like screaming at me, much like it did in childhood, but I had no capability in childhood. I mean, we need to have a lot of grace with ourselves around the things that happen in childhood that we literally had no other choice but to survive. And then as adult, we repeat those patterns again. We need to come in with heaps and loads of grace. And for years, I was just kind of on the outside looking at everything in my life saying, like, there's so much that doesn't feel right, but I want something different. I remember thinking over and over and over, like, this is just so wrong. I don't know what to do about it. I don't have a clue, and that doesn't really matter. Like, I just want something different. And a healing journey takes as long as it takes for each individual person. For me, I sat in that space off and on for a couple of decades. Things would get better, the love bombing and the cycles of abuse. Oh, it just was right on that cycle map. I'd get around to where I was like, this isn't right. And then the love bombing would start and I'd get hooked again. So even at a point where I knew something had to change, the thing that kept me moving forward was this number 5. And I didn't know it at the time, but it is to claim a future that feels impossible right now. Okay? Because we've got to start speaking into ourselves, like into you, into me, who we want to become. Even if you can't fully believe it or feel it yet, you've got to start having just allowing yourself to have the vision of a future that is so impossible. Where I'm at right now is an impossible vision that I had over the years. Throughout my entire life, I'm 55 years old. I've had this vision of where I'm at right now since I was like 4 years old. Okay, so it's important to hold to that impossible vision because a vision creates traction. Without a vision, trauma will loop you into that cycle. It just keeps you recycle through your trauma to avoid pain and you just kind of keep the status quo because it's what you know. You've got to be courageous enough to just say it. Maybe you're not safe enough to say it out loud, but maybe you can write it. Maybe you can whisper it. Maybe you can put it on a post-it note and put it on your rearview mirror in your car. Okay? I've done all these things. There were times when things were so impossible to me, I could barely whisper them. And honestly, like, even when I was having fall off a cliff panic attacks, PTSD, overloads, depersonalization, I still clung to the hope that I wanted a day where I wouldn't feel those things. I wanted that impossibleness. So you've got to allow yourself that opportunity to just know that you can have what feels impossible, but you can have the vision of something else, and we can actually begin to short circuit the recovery process. Okay? So why does this happen? What's the science? What's happening here? The brain's default, the nervous system's mode of default network helps us just go into survival mode, right? So we want to interrupt that. And the brain's default mode network helps us imagine and plan the future. When trauma survivors engage in future visualization, it builds cognitive resilience and goal based identity. And that is based on a 2000 study by Snyder and a 2007 study with Bunker and Carroll. We have got to pair up with what science tells us is possible and trauma tells us used to be real. Okay, now if you're in active trauma, you need to call an abuse hotline or call the police, immediately get the assistance that you need, or step out of your comfort zone and talk to a doctor and get the help, the interventive services that you need. If you are safe, but you're stuck in these trauma repeating loops, or you're stuck in a cycle that you just want out of, you've got to be uncomfortable, dream a bit bigger, okay? So let's recap the 5. 1, tell yourself the whole truth. 2, name the loop you're in. 3, make one brave disruptive move. 4, create your own safe space and use it daily. 5, claim a future that feels impossible right now. These 5 are going to fast track you to getting real and to getting the help and wraparound supports that you need to become not just a survivor of your trauma, to be somebody who rises from the ashes, somebody who becomes the alchemist and becomes the generational healer for your tribe. Okay? Because you are the courageous one. This is an episode that you save, you come back to, you get these tips again and again. This is the one that meets you when you are ready to stop pretending, when you're ready to stop sugarcoating, and you're ready to get real. The links in the caption of this podcast will be there for my 90-day transformation journal that's going to help you work your way through these things. It's going to ask you a lot of questions and ask future you to talk to you right now and say, I am so proud of you for this. Because imagine yourself, let's just look at number 5, claim a future that feels impossible right now. Just visualize whatever that might be, what feels absolutely impossible right now. It's going to be different for every single one of us. Now imagine that you are a year down the road and you're looking back at you today. What would you say to yourself when you've accomplished that goal? Okay. I have a journal. The link is going to be in the caption for that. It's available to all of my clients. And I hope that you decide this episode was of value, that you share it, you leave a comment. Love to hear what you guys think about all the things that we're doing here at Infinity Within and the direction we're rowing. And I appreciate your grace in my pronunciations because, those are just going to be what they are, especially as I continue to battle some of the things that have kept me hidden away from my goals and from all of the things that I want to bring forward to you guys that worked so well for me. Be sure that you're journaling. Visit my link tree for a grounding toolkit that you can use all the time on the go. And remember this. Just remember this, gorgeous soul. You are not behind. You are right on time. You are choosing you, and you are healing wounds that nobody else can, and nobody else is inviting you to heal like you have the opportunity to invite yourself to. Thank you for listening. And be sure to favorite this podcast and keep an eye out for the next episode.